Welcome back to Bills, Bets, and Beers. I am Chad, the host. This is a channel where I mostly talk about Bills football, the NFL in general, and also putting in some bets, explaining some parlays I'm doing for like Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night football, and also just Sunday in general. I like to usually dig deep into the player props and stuff like that, so it gets a little interesting. Not too many this week, but usually I do. Um, Also, I usually every week or so, every week I'll put in one or two tasty brew tasting and ratings, like just some IPA from the local area around here, just to kind of like push what we have and go from there. So, as you saw by the title, this is going to be explaining my Sunday night football parlay I have in, and some other Sunday football parlays throughout the day. Um, I'll start off with I'll end with the Sunday night football parlay, and I'm going to go through the two other ones I have for throughout Sunday in general. First one, it's going to be through FanDuel, and it's a 6-leg just game pick parlay. No player parlays. I don't usually do many of these, but I've been doing them lately because I've almost hit pretty much the past 3 weeks. I've only been like one off when I do like between 4 to 6. So I did a 6-leg this week. The first game I picked was Bears plus 9.5 against the Cowboys. I explained in the other video. I just think the Bears have been playing very well. Cowboys have been letting people kind of into the games, and they have a really good defense and stuff. But the Bears showed they have a defense as well, and they're fighting. So if they keep up with this, at least what they did against the Patriots, they're gonna not lose by 10 points. I think the Cowboys are still gonna win by like 5 or 6, but it's not gonna be 10. Next up I have is the Raiders 1.5 over the Saints. I think Raiders are just gonna cover it. I could have picked the money line to be safe, but I think they're just gonna cover it. I think they're gonna be a better team. I think Jacobs is gonna come out and just ball out again. At least get probably 2 touchdowns, and definitely over like 120 yards. So I don't know. The Saints already have a really good defense, but I don't know. They're with the quarterbacking play over there and running back play as of late because Kamara's been injured and out. I mean, it's all hit or miss at this point. Then I have the over 48.5 points on the Cards Vikings game. I just think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think Hopkins is going to go off. I also think Jefferson's going to go off, which will help my fantasy football team. But honestly, it's just they're both good wide receivers, and against the defenses you're going against, they're going to have the chances to explode. But I do, like I said, it's just gonna be a high scoring game. That over is gonna, I think it's gonna be more like a 30-something to 20-something game. Next I picked the Steelers plus 10.5 over the Eagles. They're playing at the Eagles Stadium, which is why there's a little bit more of a boost on this than the spread. I mean, you get 3 points automatically just being at home for the Eagles, so it's not too drastic. But I think the Steelers can cover. The Eagles let people back into their games a lot, and maybe they play a full game, a full defensive offensive game today, a full like all 4-quarter game. But usually they're only playing 1 or 2 quarter games, and they rack up points in those quarters, but they just don't keep up and keep putting their foot on the throats. I just don't see the Eagles beating them by 11. They could. I didn't touch it on my big 15-leg parlay because just the risk of it. You're already putting a risk of doing 15 legs. So with this, I'd rather go with like a sure one. Also, I picked this next game. I picked over as well, which is kind of weird with how the NFL's been going lately, mostly hitting unders. But I picked the over on the Rams Niners game. It's a 42.5 points. I just think whenever these teams face off, yes, it's going to be a defensive game, but as well, I think their offenses are going to are going to do decent enough against those defenses to make it a 27-24 game. They're both going to be over like 21 points, I think. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Or someone's going to be at like 28, it's going to be 27. Like 28-21. Or something like that, where they're going to make up the points and be over that. Then the last and final leg on the 6-leg parlay, I got the Bills minus 10.5 versus the Packers. It's at the Bill Stadium. Packers have been playing well. Bills have been playing well, and Bills usually come off decent against after a bye week. They're 5-0 with Sean McDermott there, so I don't think there's anything to worry about there. Next one we have is DraftKings. Oh, sorry about that. I had to let the dog in because he was scratching at the door. Next one I have up, I just created it this morning. I'm actually doing the Sunday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning because I fell asleep with the boys last night. But it's through DraftKings. It's gonna be a 7-leg, same game parlay, anytime touchdowns. I basically did anytime touchdowns because there was basically an opt-in for a plus 25% on your odds with a 3 or more anytime touchdown scores picked in a same game parlay. So that's what I chose. I'll tell you the players and then I'll tell you the odds. It's a 7-leg parlay. I picked Travis Etienne. I think he's gonna score over there. Yes, they have people scoring touchdowns passing wise with Trevor Lawrence throwing it, but I just think it's gonna be a running back touchdown, and Etienne's been doing decent lately. It's a plus 100 on that, which I was surprised being that high, being that he's the lead running back, but maybe they don't see the Broncos and them scoring too much, so that could be it as well. Next, I picked Michael Carter. I think with Breece Hall being down, Michael Carter is going to score. And I just think he's going to get in the end zone. Even with Breece Hall there, he got in the end zone twice one game. And I think they're going to be rushing it a lot. Especially, hopefully, I know Robinson won't get a lot. He'll probably get at least 10 or so carries. But I think Carter's going to be the main back this week, at least against the Patriots. Then I put up DeAndre Hopkins. With him not scoring a touchdown last week, I just think he's going to score this week. And surprisingly, the odds on him were plus 125. Oh, and the odds for Carter were plus 160. Being 125, how can you not take Hopkins? I think he's going to get in the end zone this week. It's with the defenses they're going against. Like I said earlier, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game against the Cards and the Vikes. So I see Hopkins get in the end zone this week. Just with the defense he's going against, he's going to be able to get the opportunity. Next one I have is Josh Jacobs. He's been a monster lately, scoring 2 to 3 touchdowns the last 2 games, and I just think he's gonna get another touchdown. His odds were minus 145. Obviously, he's more favored at this point, but which is surprising. Most of these anytime touchdowns I pick are minus, but only 2 of them are this week. Yeah, I think he's just going to get in the end zone. I think the Saints defense is good, but he is their offense, Raiders offense, and I picked the Raiders to win. So, he's going to have to score for me to win any of my other bets. Next one up I have is Dameon Pierce. He's the rookie running back down in the Texans, and he's been starting as of late, and he's been running pretty well. His odds are plus 110 to score. I just think they're gonna get a touch. He's gonna get a touchdown this game. Next up I have is Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. I think with Heineke back in there now, he likes to throw a lot more, and with the game they're coming into, I think they have a chance to win. So, especially if Terry gets going, which he was last week, and he was looking pretty decent. I liked what they were doing with him, at least passing the ball to him more now. So I think he's going to score a touchdown this week. and the odds in that were plus 190. So they're a little bit higher just because obviously running backs grab the most, and then like the other team's number one. But and last but not least, I have Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's not explanatory. I mean, he's gonna be in the negatives. It's minus 135. He's gonna score. It's gonna be a decently scoring game against the Seahawks. Overall, odds on this is plus 20,857. I already put $1 on it like usual, and I can win $210. Pretty good odds, and honestly, that's why I like doing like same game parlays, because you can pick throughout the whole day on a Sunday. You have like, especially in the beginning of the year, you have so many games going on, but now you have kind of a pattern. You guys can map it out with the less amount. Well, this week you actually have a decent amount. You have like 15 games throughout the whole thing, so it's not that bad. Compared to some weeks where you're gonna have like 13, 14, stuff like that. But okay, now let's get into that Sunday Night Football parlay I did. This is the big Bills Packers matchup where people think the Bills might drop the game if they don't come in hot, but I think they are, and that's gonna be shown in this parlay. It's just a little 6-leg parlay I did through Caesars. I picked Gabe Davis anytime touchdown score. I also put in a Davis over 57.5 receiving yards, and a Davis over 24.5 longest reception. So this is why I love same game parlays, because you can just stack and stack and stack and stack. So like you never were able to do this before. It's different with quarterbacks. Like you can't choose a quarterback to do 1.5 touchdown, over 1.5 touchdowns, over their yardage, and like over their passing completions, because that's way too correlated. But with this being one player in different sections, you can add a lot of stuff in there. Like if I picked his over receiving yards, I couldn't pick his receptions. That's the way how same game parlays work. You just have to get used to it. Yeah, so I picked Davis anytime touchdown, also gonna get over 57.5 receiving yards, and I think his longest reception is gonna be over 24.5 yards. All those should be pretty. I think it's gonna happen, and especially against this Packers defense, where they do have good corners and safeties, but their best one is gonna be covering. Alexander's gonna be covering Diggs most likely, and following him. So I think Gabe Davis is going to get a chance to go against some of these other cornerbacks that he's just going to beat. I think if they leave him one-on-one, he's just going to beat them. So, and who knows? Maybe they might try to blanket Diggs if it gets to a certain point, because he's been getting the ball a lot. Also, I picked Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Then I picked Reggie Gilliam anytime touchdown. I know that's very interesting, but I had put this parlay in, I think on like Wednesday or something like that, and it was funny. I was watching the New York Up podcast, and the host there actually said, "Hot take, I'm gonna guess I'm feeling a fullback touchdown, Reggie Gilliam." And I was feeling the same thing this week. I'm like, well, we haven't seen a fullback touchdown in a while since the Week 2 game. And I just think it's going to happen. I think we're going to be scoring enough where we can get him in the end zone. Nice little, probably 15-20 yard catch and a pass and catch touchdown. I don't think he's going to be running the ball in at this point. If he does, it's probably be 3 or 4 yards into the end zone. But that's either going to be Josh or Singletary getting that. Maybe James Cook, but they haven't been using it much. And my last leg on this parlay is going to be Mason Crosby over 1.5 field goals. I think Packers are going to score, but I just don't think they're going to score that much. I had predicted like a 38-10 on this game, but it could easily be like a 13-17. So I just see them getting 2 field goals here. I I couldn't bet on what their players were going to do with the inconsistencies, what's been going on, and how strong our rush defense is. If we can stop that rush attack going on, I couldn't bet on any of those wide receivers. Not Sammy Watkins. I mean, with Scantley out. I mean, not Scantley. Jesus. With their main wide receiver out right now, I just don't see it being. There's nothing I could put on that. I couldn't bet the Rodgers over touchdowns. I don't want to bet the Rodgers under touchdowns, just in case he goes off. I didn't want to bet his over his yards, receptions, completions, anything like that, because they're so high and that so contrasting that there's a lot of it easily can get ruined. So I want my parlays to at least have a good chance of hitting. And those odds ended up being plus 32,500, and it gives me $1 to equal 326. That's pretty good, and I think it's just because the Reggie Gilliam touchdown was like a huge boost. I think it was like plus 500 something. So that raised this parlay massively. And also with the Gabe Davis anytime, even though it's still probably, it was in the negatives. If it was a positive, it was like plus like 100 or something. But when you put any anytime touchdowns, or especially first scoring touchdowns in a parlay, it just boosted so much. Because there's always better odds in that. Because usually when you pick the over-unders on receptions, yards, anything like that, you're generally picking the one that's in the negative. Sometimes you pick the one that's not, but also some other nice bets I would think for a same game parlay today would be on Sunday. Well, actually, I'll talk about that more on Monday. There's a good, decent ones there. But I think Pratt Firemouth will be getting over his receptions. Usually he's around like 2.5 to 3.5. He's probably gonna get up around 4 to 5. They've been passing the ball a little bit more to him. And I would definitely look at those receptions, because like Hopkins is gonna go over his receptions, I guarantee you. And then Jefferson probably is going over his receptions. Two obvious ones. That's all in one game. I mean, you could probably pick Diggs for over his receptions this game. And it just, once you go deeper into the player props, it gets so much easier to kind of make a bigger parlay that's still reasonable to hit. Obviously, you still have to have all of them hit, which makes it a lot harder. But I think the odds aren't that bad for them all to hit, and you get really good rewards for putting that, like an extra leg in a parlay. It boosts it massively most of the time. Oh yeah, for that 6-leg game prediction parlay I did with earlier, the first one I said, those, I forgot to tell you the odds. Those odds are plus 47.34, and that would win me $95 on $2 going in. Obviously, like I said, see the difference between a 6-leg guessing the scores of games and outcomes are a lot less than like a 6-leg player prop same game parlay. It's a lot harder to get more odds on just predicting games. That's just how it is. Because it's a lot easier to predict those than some player props. Because you have to have the player, you have to worry about the player getting injured, the player just not getting the ball, dropping the ball. Maybe they're just, the type of game they have to play isn't going to go towards them getting that many catches or that many rushing attempts and that many rushing yards, things like that. Lot more comes into play. Okay, let's get into the preview for my next videos. I'm going to be putting a playoff prediction mid-season coming up. I'll probably be dropping that Monday or Tuesday. Then Bills versus Packers end of game reaction. I might film it at the end of the game if I have time, and then, or I'll just be putting it up probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those days. Um, and then I'm also be doing a Monday night football parlay. I'll probably be dropping that tomorrow. So tomorrow or Monday morning, I'll be definitely recording it tonight or tomorrow, one of the two. I know it's a night game, so I might do it throughout the day. Then I have my Thursday night football parlay coming up as well. Just the weekly ones. But getting to the sponsors part of this video, my wife, she has an Instagram page promoting her business. It's Crochet with Elisha. She does everything from cardigans to shirts to bikini tops to beer koozies to just like little stuffed animals for kids. I mean, she does a really good job on these. Next video I do, I'll probably grab a couple and show you, but if you want to look at them, just go on Instagram. It's Crochet with Elisha. It's Elisha. Very good products she puts out, and she does big blankets too, like for winter, like the thick warm yarn. And like when she does projects for anybody, even just for herself or our kids or anybody who asks, she doesn't use cheap yarn. She uses very high quality yarn for that type of job. So she uses yarn for clothes. She uses yarn for like specifically for like a fleece blanket. You make sure it's like soft, warm yarn, nothing like rough and uncomfortable. So if you would like to, just DM her, and you can look through all the things she has and say, hey, I would like this. If it's not like featured on her channel, she can always make anything you give her. She can find a pattern for it. So if you have something that you would like, just give her an idea and say, hey, could you make this for me? And she most likely can find a pattern and get that made for you. Obviously every price ranges, but just ask her and she'll give you a layout of the price that she would want for it to do that work. Also, Mr. Nasty Time. It's Mr. Mr. _ Nasty Time. NASTY TYYYYME. I'll be putting his link in the description. He does YouTube videos as well. Now he's been streaming his gaming. He was doing that on Twitch before, but now he's putting his gaming up. He's gonna be doing a lot of Modern Warfare 2 gameplay up there, especially when that Warzone comes out, because I think that's gonna be really good, a really good update for it. But he's been playing the multiplayer as of late. He also puts up a lot of football videos as well for the NFL. He puts up an NFL rankings every week around Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes late on a Friday morning. But he'll upload it, and it's ranking all 32 teams every single week. He has 8 of them already, or 7 of them already coming to week 8. So it's really interesting because he has a lot of good input. He's been watching football and been playing football for a while, so he knows what he's talking about. And he also does the occasional MMA for the fights, parlay explanations, and just picking certain fights and see who he thinks is going to win when there's a really good card. This weekend the card's not as strong, but on most of the bigger cards, he does do an explanation of some fights, and he picks out the fights that he thinks are going to win and explains why. He goes into like the game of the other fighters and the game of both fighters, like what their pros, what their cons are in their game, and everything like that, and why he thinks they're going to win for that certain reason. Because sometimes he does like by submission in this round, or by decision, or by knockout. It gets very interesting. He's already won a pretty big parlay already this year on it. And he also does like rankings, like even quarterbacks, running backs. He did a rankings of all the UFC fighters, things like that, just to kind of keep it interesting. Great content, good quality, and he puts a lot of time in to make it good. Also, future sponsor, New Belgium Voodoo Ranger. Shout out to you. Thanks for choosing me. But no, they're a great beer. it's more of it's not really local. It's a big product, but they're based. They have a Colorado and I think it was North Carolina brewing companies. Uh, the Voodoo Ranger I like most out of the New Belgium, but they do have other good beers throughout them. I am definitely fond of the hazies they have, especially the Juice Force. It's a super strong 9.5% hazy IPA, and it doesn't taste that much stronger than their normal like hazy imperial or just their hazy in general. So it's definitely worth it. Um, but yeah, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. I'll be wrapping up this video, and it's crazy to think that this is gonna be my 11th one up. I had a little hiatus in the middle after about 5 or 6, just because my time wasn't well spent, and I didn't have enough time to make these because they usually are made at night, and I was just not getting enough sleep, so I was more along the lines of like just going to bed earlier. But I'll be putting more of these up hopefully and keep it in good pattern. Been a solid week this week, and hopefully I can keep it going throughout the season. But I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And, of course, go Bills!